Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Porter. I'm from Prophix Software. For those of you who have never met before, I'm from Toronto, Canada, as Chris mentioned. Joining me today is my colleague, Jamie Leveridge. And what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is a little bit about something called corporate performance management. For all intents and purposes, you can kind of boil it down to being budgeting and reporting, but it really does much, much more than that. And so for all intents and purposes, what I'm going to start off to do is sort of educate you on what is corporate performance management, what are the things that CPM solves, the business needs that it solves, and how Prophix does that. So functionally, what do we do and how do we do it? Additionally, sort of talking about the Prophix difference, what makes us different, why we believe we're a great solution, why we're a great company to work with, our commitment to you as a customer, we'll talk a bit about that, and we'll talk about how we implement our software. It's a very unique way that we implement it in the sense that it's very collaborative, it's very training focused, it's very much about knowledge transfer, and making you an independent customer of using our solution. And then we'll get into a short demo. So for many organizations, this is the business challenge that they deal with. They have many different systems that they have data in. That information oftentimes makes its way into Excel. And when it's getting into Excel, that's sort of the first point of possible problems, possible errors, possible issue. Very manual intensive, very error prone. And at the end of the day, they're then sending that information back out to their business users, and their business users are looking at it. It's static information. They have no way to do a further analysis. They end up coming back to finance, coming back to IT to ask questions like, can I see this report, but I can't see it in a different way? Can you pivot it this way? Could you show me all of the transactions? Could you show me all of the invoices? And so there's a constant back and forth, and that's why you're seeing a back and forth arrow between the department heads and the spreadsheets, and then from the spreadsheets back down to the databases, and eventually back down to you guys in finance and IT. And so this is the issue, and this is the thing that many organizations struggle with on a daily basis. And at the end of the day, this sort of issue only perpetuates itself as businesses grow. And they add more data sources, they add more information to their business, they add more people to their business. And at the end of the day, that process that you started off with 3 people, which was relatively manageable and maintainable for maybe a couple of people, just becomes completely unmanageable as your business grows. And so at the end of the day, the way that we look at it is it doesn't have to be this way. And you should have technology that supports the growth of your business. You should have technology that's scalable for your business. And so as your business grows, as your needs change, as you have more people, have more data sources, you should have a piece of technology that supports that. That's really the way you should always look at software is, does this piece of software support my business today, tomorrow, and into the future? And so it's no different when it comes to budgeting and reporting. Excel is a great tool for a short number of things, but at the end of the day, it's just not scalable for your business. And so it doesn't have to be this way. So what Prophix does is Prophix does corporate performance management, which for all intents and purposes encapsulates everything from reporting and analytics to budgeting, forecasting, and planning to consolidations for multinational, multi-company, as well as things like workflow and automation for tracking your budgeting process, tracking your month-end process, and things of that nature. The difference with Prophix is that with Prophix, we offer all of this functionality right from the get-go. It's not sold modular, so everything that I'm going to talk to you about today and everything you'll see on our website is included in our application. So it's very unique in the sense that we offer all of our value from the get-go because we know your business is going to change. We know you're not just going to stop at budgeting and reporting. You're going to want to do other things. Your business is going to want to do other things once they see what an application like this can do. And so we don't want you to be hindered by having to buy more software or things of that nature. We want you just to simply be able to go and execute and deliver that value to your business. And so on the budgeting and planning side of things, there's things like expense planning, personnel planning, operational planning, sales and revenue planning. For professional services type companies, we do a lot of utilization type planning. So things like project planning, cash planning, capital expense planning. All of this is a part of our application. And furthermore, all of the setup and all of the different aspects of this, we catalog this into our application. So you're never going to have to write a formula to calculate depreciation. We have that. It's a simple setup, simple GUI type thing. Cash planning, we have a GUI interface to set up things like determining what your average receivables, average payables, days are, things like that. So it's all about building an application that is meant for the people who use it, not just an application that you have to call IT every time you want to make a change, or you have to call your consultant every time you want to make a change. So these are just some quick examples of different types of forecasting, planning, and budgeting uses of Prophix. From a reporting perspective, as you'll see, self-service and interactive dashboards are kind of the core of where Prophix starts, because it's the home screen of Prophix. Additionally, things like ad hoc reporting is big for reporting analytics, as we talked about earlier in the first slide, where you're having that back and forth between the end users and the spreadsheets. You want to be able to get rid of that and enable your end users to do their own analysis, enable them to be independent, to answer their own questions, to alleviate the time and the pain that is relied on, that's pushed onto finance, to do things like, give me the report this way, or show me the transactions that way, that type of thing. Additionally, things like drill across to the transactional level of detail, integration to Excel, Word, and PowerPoint as well. For those organizations that may have multiple companies, we have our consolidations module, which covers everything from calculating minority interest or joint ventures, doing your intercompany elimination reporting, things of that nature. And then finally, workflow, which we talked about earlier, for things like tracking your budget, tracking your month-end process. So how do we do it? So with Prophix, we're built on, for all intents and purposes, we're built on a hierarchy-based system. And so a hierarchy-based system meaning that when the data goes into Prophix, it then follows a hierarchy of levels all the way to the very top that you have determined as the power users, as the admins of the system. This was technology that Microsoft built many, many years ago. It's called OLAP technology, and this technology was built for the purpose of budgeting and reporting. Similarly, your ERP technology that's built on is built on relational technology. And so at the end of the day, like I talked about earlier, it's all about using technology that was built to do the things you're trying to achieve. It's not like you're trying to get on your bike and ride the Indy 500 and try to beat a bunch of cars. You're never going to do that. So it's all about using technology that was built to do the things that you're trying to achieve for your business. So with Prophix, data integration is one of our biggest strengths. We can connect to over 200 different data sources. And so for organizations that have multiple data sources, Prophix becomes, over time, a very centralized repository, a centralized place for all of your budgeting and reporting. We oftentimes start off with the Office of Finance. That's our initial user base that we work with. But over time, the application can become that single version of the truth, that single user interface. And that's beneficial to the whole organization, because then you're not training people on different applications, different user interfaces. It simplifies things and it streamlines things for your business. So at the onset, when the data goes into the application, it's following those business definitions. It's following those hierarchies. For example, the way you roll up your accounting structure, your P&L, your balance sheet, your cash flow. It's going to a centralized hierarchy, not just the hierarchy that anybody came up with in the reporting tool that day. You are dictating how that is to be done, and that breeds consistency. It breeds validity. Your executives can trust the numbers that are coming out of the system because they know they've been created by the group that knows how to create them. And so from there, we can then have the users interact with the data in really any way that they want. So if you have an intranet site like SharePoint, if you have, use all of the different Office products, we can connect to those. But more importantly, you can have the users interact with it anywhere, on any device, anytime. We have a full web interface that the users can interact with. So they can open it up on their laptop, as you see there, on their tablet device. It really gives the user the flexibility to access it the way that they want to access it. But at the end of the day, it's always coming back to that centralization of control around, the data is always consistent. It is always valid. It is always in tune with all of the changes that you're making in your GP database. So it's really kind of about consistency in as much as it's also about ease of use and accessibility to the data. And then finally, with Prophix, we have the instant drill back to your detailed transactions in whatever data source that we are connecting it to. So whether it's GP, whether it's an operational database, some other SQL database, the drill through is another level of detail that you can get into as well. So what's the Prophix difference? What makes us unique? Well, the main things are the single unified solution. We've been around for 30 years, and in that time, we've entirely developed our product organically through no acquisition of other pieces of software that we've molded together. This is really something that's very unique, but it's also something that's important for customers to know because you get that consistent user experience across the entire application. From a training perspective, from an end user perspective, that's important that they're going to get the expected functionality that they expect to see no matter where they go in the application. So it's something that's really interesting. Additionally, we have a comprehensive CPM capabilities. As we talked about earlier, we offer that all to you right from the get-go. So it's, at the end of the day, value to you that you're getting an application that you're going to grow with. You'll show ROI on it year after year as you utilize more of the application's functions. As well, it's very much an application that can be owned by finance, not IT, in the sense that all of the admin functions are all done in the front end of the application. You will never have to go to a server. You'll never have to call IT to do really anything. You'll work with IT initially to establish that connection to the database that you're connecting it to, but really from that point forward, you're on your own, which is great. Direct integration and drill back. This is something that's really key in the sense that Prophix can connect directly to your data sources. We're not loading data into Excel or into some flat file and then it goes into Prophix. It's a direct connection, and that's the automation that you want. Collaborative workflow is great because we want your business to be more collaborative. We don't want it just to be, okay, the database is here, finance generates the information, and then it goes out, and then all the questions come back like we talked about earlier. Workflow is an amazing tool for tracking your budgeting process, for seeing everything come together, for watching your budget come together in real time. And then also we have multiple deployment options. I'm going to show you Prophix today, and however you decide to deploy that, whether it's on your premises, whether it's hosted with Turnkey, you decide. It's one product to be deployed however you like. So success with Prophix. Experience is important. We've been in this industry for 30 years. Our CEO, when he established the company 30 years ago, came from the Office of Finance. His goal was to build an application to help automate reporting, automate budgeting, and make it simpler and easier to do. So at our core, we always kind of have like the Office of Finance in mind. We're a privately held company, and what that really means is that we're a company that our success is our customer success. It's not just about getting more customers to show our investors that we're adding this much recurring revenue every single year. It's really about making you guys successful with our application because it's the core of our company is our customers, and that's the most important part of our business. We have over 3,000 customers in 100 countries. Year over year for the last 3 years, we've been adding close to 200 customers a year, so we're still rapidly growing to this point. And as I said, it's made by finance for finance. As I said earlier, uniquely about Prophix is that it's a very collaborative implementation methodology in the sense that we work with you. The first step before we do any kind of building in the software is to do administrator training, to get you into the training, to get you learning the software so that we can work together on the project. So it's not just the consultants working here and you are waiting for the end result. We want you to learn, we want you to be collaborative, and so it's really kind of all about making you self-sufficient. This is a very simple product to use. It's not complex, it's not difficult. So at the end of the day, we can train you on it to make you a real valuable resource to the project, and more importantly, a very valuable resource to your organization. Customer success, this is something that it's actually kind of come along in the last couple of years in the software industry. And it's actually something that we have a whole team at our company devoted to this. And so we've built up a whole infrastructure that's consisting of 5 kind of pillars of customer success. The first one, of course, is customer support. You call into the hotline. The second one is our Prophix Academy. We've invested heavily in online content and online learning management systems for our customers to use, to be able to log on and learn the application. So it's something that we've really invested heavily in. We have our annual user conference this year. It's in May, coming up in Orlando. We have our customer empowerment webinar series. These are monthly sessions where our consulting teams and architect teams actually present industry solutions and present use cases of how to use the application to kind of give you guys ideas of how you can further your ROI in the application. And then we have our case studies and customer videos. And so these are things about where customers talk about, how am I using the application? What makes it unique? What kind of use cases am I doing? And that's kind of the cool part. I was talking to a client earlier. In Monday and Tuesday this week, we built a whole model, myself and a client. We built a whole model that's integrated to CRM to help understand revenue recognition, because they're a services-based company, and help them understand based on what's currently being booked and what the utilization of their consultants are, so they can see when their backlog is going to get used up. Pretty cool stuff, not financially related, but as a CFO, that's huge to be able to see in a single pane of glass how their utilization is affecting their backlog, and do they need to increase more people to drain down their backlog? Do they need to decrease people because they're not booking enough business? And being able to see that and just simply key it in on the fly to see how quickly I can realize my revenue that's been booked, pretty awesome stuff. And so we did that earlier this week. It was a pretty cool model. So there's a lot of really interesting use cases. I encourage you to check out our website and go to our case studies and hear how customers are using the application. Everybody started off with budgeting and reporting, connecting it to the ERP system, but that's just like scratching the surface. There's a lot of really interesting things, and that's kind of something that we take pride in. So who uses Prophix? As I said, we have about 3,000 customers. There's lots of really well-known organizations, lots of well-known logos up there. It's great. It's cool to work with companies that are really kind of on the family discussion list at the dinner table, but we really take pride in our customers. We take pride in being able to put their logos up on our website and things like that. So there's some logos there you might be familiar with. So let's jump into the demo. We'll start off with dashboarding and reporting, kind of what you can experience when you first log into the application. Then we'll shift gears and move into some ad hoc reporting. Then we'll also move completely over to budgeting and forecasting and planning. We'll also talk about detailed planning. So many of you guys don't just plan everything at the ledger level. You might plan it below the ledger. You might plan it using different data sets that then need to be consolidated up to your financial ledger. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk finally about automated report distribution. Does anybody have any questions thus far? No? Sweet. If they're on the line, can they ask questions? Or, okay. Sorry, people dialing in. All right. So, when we first log into Prophix, the great thing is that you're presented with visual analytics. We kind of made a conscious decision to make the home screen not just a bunch of tiles, but actually make it something that's value add, so that as an end user, you can refresh Prophix every single day and get some information, delivered to you. So whether it's, how many inventory turn, what was the inventory turn yesterday? What was our production on the different lines yesterday? What was our utilization? How much did we bill our customer base yesterday? So really giving people the access to the information that they need. And so the visual analytics or the dashboard as our home screen is a great jump-off point. Furthermore, dashboards can be created and then assigned to users so that this becomes their home screen. So you're not just creating a dashboard and then they have to open it. You can actually create it and make that the first thing they see when they access the application. So when I log in, this is what I see. But when someone else logs in, they can see something completely different. So as an end user, the nice thing about the dashboards is that they are truly interactive. And so I can look at my top 5 customer revenue split chart. And what I can do is I can right-click on a given customer. And if I wanted to, because again, remember, Prophix is built on a centralized hierarchy system, you can interact with the data in the sense that I can go up a level, I can go down a level, all very easily. In this case, I can go up to the customer group level to see revenue splits by customer group 1, customer group 2. If I wanted to, because again, remember, Prophix is built on a centralized hierarchy system, you can interact with the data in the sense that I can go up a level, I can go down a level, all very easily. In this case, I can go up to the customer group level to see revenue splits by customer group 1, customer group 2. But then I could go like this and go back down to the customer group level and see the information again that I want to see. And so it gives the user a level of interaction right at the onset that they can achieve very, very quickly. So that information there is coming from a dynamic CRM database, which is coming out of the revenue. Over to the right here and to the bottom here, we have a bar chart, which is coming out of the ERP system, out of the general ledger, which is giving us quarterly OPEX spend by OPEX category. So once again, remember that because it's a hierarchy-based system, we can interact with the data really easily, and because it's live, I can go down the hierarchy and up the hierarchy really easily. So for example, we have Q1, Q2 through 4, and so below there are the months. Additionally, we have these 5 categories of OPEX spend, which are the top level of your OPEX, so meaning that there's accounts that roll up to them. So what I can do is I can right-click on a category in a quarter, I can hit down, and then it's going to open up the individual months in that quarter, as well as the individual accounts in that grouping. So it's following the hierarchy that you guys dictated as the finance organization as to how the accounts are grouped. Furthermore, when Prophix refreshes itself against the database, it will bring in new accounts. It will bring in new cost centers. It will bring in new whatever you brought into Prophix, any fields that you've brought in. It will bring that information into the system and into your reports. So it's really in real time flowing the data from GP through to the end system, which is great. Then finally, as an end user, as you can see down here, we have some things like KPIs, little numbers. But as an end user, I can click on the drop-down menu of this chart, and I can launch into the underlying data of the chart. So now it's opening up the data in a grid format, so I can see the actual numbers. Yes, we can put labels on our charts like you would expect to, but I can see them now in the numeric format. So once we're here, this gives us even more flexibility as an end user, because now I can look at things and click and drag and slice and dice. So this model just has 2 segments of a general ledger. You can have as many segments as you'd like. It just simply gets configured that way when you set up the system. So if I said to myself, okay, this is really good. I'm at the individual account level, as you can see, account key, account name. But let's just say I want to go up a level. I want to go back to the category level of OPEX. All I simply would do is just simply right-click and hit drill up. So now it's going up the hierarchy. So unlike in Excel, you wouldn't have this flexibility. You'd have to go back to the report creators to get you to do this. And once again, this is always going back to that centralized hierarchy that you guys created. It's not like when you create a report in other tools where it's sort of like, all right, we're building off of this tree today and this tree tomorrow. It's all about consistency, and that's really important to both the finance org, but it's also important to executives who want to be able to trust the numbers. So now that we've done this, I could say to myself, all right, I'd like to see actual plan and variance. So all that I simply do is go over to my versions drop down here, or as you can see, we have organizations here too. I could go over to versions, click and drag, and now I have actuals. Then I'll simply just go choose members and add in the plan column and add in the variance. So the versions dimension or the scenarios dimension is where it will store your actuals, your plans, all your different versions of plans, all your different versions of forecasts. So this is what allows Prophix to do budgeting and reporting in the same exact model. You don't have to build separate models and link them together, which is really powerful. So if I add in plan, and then I add in my 2 variances, my dollar values and my percentages, click OK. It's now given me actual plan variance and variance percentage. I've achieved all of this with a click of my mouse. There's few applications out there that I can get to this point without having to touch my keyboard. As an end user community, that's huge. Just being able to simply click, drag, and move your mouse around to get the information you need. And then furthermore, if we wanted to then see the individual transactions in the actuals, I can simply just right-click, and then we have all of the instant transactions at the transactional level. And furthermore, I have another report that's very similar to this that I can open up, and the transactions within it, if you guys are using any kind of paperless document systems or scanning in invoices using things like QuickTag, we can actually bring the links or the hyperlinks. So there's that same exact report, but it's in a formatted report. I can just right-click, go to drill across, and I can actually look at the individual transactions if they've been scanned into the system. So I'll just sort them, I'll descend, so I can see my top transaction values, and I can click on the invoice, and now we're down to the invoice level. As an end user, being able to do this without having to pick up the phone or send an email is great. It's giving you more time to do more analysis, to add more value to your business by doing other activities in your day. And so being able to get down to this level is great. You know, oftentimes this is something people ask for. They want to see invoices. They want to see the actual piece of paper that generated the transaction. And this is effectively what we're giving the end user insight into. So then that transaction, of course, you can save those to Excel. You can save anything into Excel if you want to. And so from the ad hoc, of course, as you can see, you can click and drag and build reports. But for example, you could click and drag and you could literally build any report you want. This model is a general ledger model. So I simply, when you build a brand new report in Prophix, people call it like report writing. I kind of call it report clicking because you're not writing anything, you're just clicking, and that's great because it's simple. And so when you build reports in Prophix, you can build them using some awesome functions. So I'll leave it as is now. I'll leave accounts in the rows and versions in the columns. Additionally, you could stack things on top of each other. You can pivot them and things like that. That's no problem as well. But when you build a report, as an end user, once again, you're always using that centralized hierarchy that was originally created. And so if I wanted to build a report that gave me all of my OPEX, I'm going to go down all the levels here in the hierarchy, gives me all of the detailed OPEX accounts, as opposed to, there's two scenarios most people are used to. The first scenario would be, you know, you single click and you add all of the accounts in and then you write some sort of formula. Or you do that and then you write a range formula. People are used to that. Well, what about if I could do all of that, but do it in 2 clicks and never write a formula? So there's some functions that Prophix has in our system that are, in my opinion, pretty awesome because in almost every other report writing application, you would have to write a piece of formula or code. And so there's some functions that we train you on and we teach you on, which are really, really great and help you build really, truly automated reports. So the first one I'll just show you here is if I want to give myself all of the accounts under payroll, I can just choose least descendants. And then if I want to get the total of payroll, I just click payroll. So in 2 clicks, now I've done everything I need to do. And I didn't have to write a formula to do it. And so keep in mind, because what that's doing is it's looking at the active list of accounts under payroll, the next time Prophix refreshes and it brings all those new accounts, if you added a new payroll account, for example, to GP, all those new accounts are automatically going to go into this report because you use the dynamic function. So literally from source to output, the whole report's automated. You don't ever have to come back and maintain it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry about formulas breaking because we're not doing any of that. So if I'll just rinse and repeat this and add in a couple more categories here. I can build the whole report to be fully automated from the very beginning right through to the end. And then I'll click OK. And so there's our report. And then once again, if those new accounts get added to the system, the rows automatically will get added. So you're minimizing pretty much all report maintenance right from the second that you added a new account to GP right through to the point where now your reports are generated. So one of the big KPIs you'll see in a lot of our case studies is how much time our organization's saving on their month-end processes. So it's a huge KPI for an organization to be able to say, yes, we're delivering reports out to our business much, much faster. They're much more consistent, much more accurate. And this is one of the main reasons why. So we're giving you an incredible amount of power. We're kind of making you a bit of like reporting all-stars or rock stars to be able to write reports this way without having to actually learn anything remotely technical. So that's just briefly our report writer. Those reports then, of course, can be then pasted into our formatted report writer called Template Studio, and that report can look something like this. And so many organizations love the fact that the Prophix report writer has all the exact same formatting capabilities of Excel, so you can keep your reports looking the exact same. Users won't know the difference. Well, they'll know the difference because they're logging into Prophix, but the format of it is going to be the same. And so we made a conscious decision to make our reporting, for our formatting ribbons the exact same as Excel. Anybody have any questions? Yeah. Amy?
So when you add a new account, and you say automatically add them, how does it know it's a payroll account? Does it look at the numbers set up, or does it look at account category? How does it know it's payroll?
Yeah, category is one of the ones that we do use. If you have your category set up in GP, then perfect. Because when we build the connection, or we set up the connection to GP, there's 3 fields that we will line up into Prophix. The first one's the account ID, the second one's the account description, and the third one's the account category. And by doing that, because this is a hierarchy-based system, it then looks at that category, and because the category exists in Prophix, it'll auto-group it into that category for you. So we encourage clients to set up those categories. They're hugely, hugely beneficial. Like, take the time, do it, because in this type of a solution, we can utilize those categories to auto-group. So you'll just refresh, and that new payroll account will show up here, and the data will automatically just flow into total payroll for you. So good question. All right. So we'll shift gears now. Do I have till 12:45? Oh, till 1? Okay. So we'll shift gears now over to some more of the budgeting, planning side of things. So there's one widget on here that I'm going to point out. And I truly call these kind of widgets because when you go to create a dashboard in Prophix, there's nothing remotely technical about it. So you have all your different widgets down here at the bottom. You can put them together pretty darn quickly and just simply put them into your report. Really no different than the way you create widgets on your phone. So if you have some widgets on your phone, it would be really no different. So that's how we kind of create dashboards. It's really simple. But the one widget that we always have clients put on their dashboards is the My Tasks widget. So the My Tasks widget should be something that day in and day out the user should see every time they log into the system. And you can force that to be like top left of the dashboard if you want it to be. And so the My Tasks widget is driven by the workflow tool and the automation tool. And for the example today that we'll talk about is with respect to budgeting. And so workflow is an amazingly good tool because it's going to eliminate the need to email templates out through your Outlook. It's going to eliminate the need to email people to say, hey, what's going on? Why haven't you filled out your budget? Have you filled out your budget? Have you submitted it? All of that's going to be centralized now in the workflow. So all I would simply have to do if I wanted to see all the tasks that are outstanding is simply just click on the drop-down, hit the launch button, same launch button that we use to go into the ad hoc, and we could see in a single pane of glass all of the tasks that are in progress, all the ones that are past due, all the ones that have been finished. And so as an end user, I can see all this information about myself. As an admin, I can see the whole global workflow to see who's still filling out their budget, whose budget's waiting for approval, has someone's budget been rejected and sent back to them, all that information. So we're cutting 2 hugely big pain points out of the whole budgeting process that oftentimes finance just doesn't like doing. No one likes sending emails out to people to remind them. No one likes having to, respond to say, this is the template you should be using, disregard the previous one. It just creates a huge headache. So the workflow is really, really great. As you can see, there's a couple of other things in workflow that we have here. Those are things that are for like tracking your month-end process. If you guys have different tasks that are split up by person in the month-end process, you can set them up in the workflow too, so you can track, when someone's completed, your controller will get a notification saying the intercompany eliminations are complete, things like that. But for today, we're going to talk more about P&L planning, and we're going to talk about detailed planning. So in the first task we're going to open up the past due task because it's past due. We're going to open up our department OPEX task. Now, as an end user, when I receive any report or any template in the system, it's already tailored to my security profile, not through something that the person did when they wrote the report, but just based on my security permissions. So if you guys have standardized any of your reports, any of your templates, and really all it is from one to the next is just a difference of department or the difference of company, you will get a lot out of using Prophix because you can create one template and then just have all of the other fields, in this case organizations, in the drop-down, and you can just toggle between them. You don't have to set up individual reports for each user or individual tabs or anything like that. So when I access this is only the 3 marketing departments that roll up to total marketing, and total marketing is this bottom one here, meaning that if I make a change to product marketing, like so, and then I go up to total marketing, I'll be able to see that change at the total level. This is what allows the whole budget to come together in real time, that there's no, oh, we're currently consolidating everybody's budgets. You'll never have to do that again because, again, it comes down to using technology that is meant to do consolidation of data in real time. So I just put 50 grand in office expenses at the product marketing level. I'm now at the total marketing. You can see the title change, and it's updated right there. So this is just a subset of the organization, but for the overall whole organization, as everybody's planning out their data, you can go to total company level and see the whole budget come together in real time. So there's a couple of functions I'm going to walk you guys through here when it comes to doing planning. So you can do planning by month, by week, by day, by quarter, by year, by multi-year, all that type of thing. But for today, I'll show you a couple of examples. So the first example is we have a baseline budget already in the plan. So meaning we've pre-populated the budget for 2017 based on last year's actuals that have been coming in. So we have a 9+3 forecast here, and then we've pre-populated everything forward. So in this case, I can make changes by month. It's not a problem. I can also make changes by year. And so if I go to the yearly level, if I go to the quarterly level, or even if I wanted to do a total company level or a total group level, I can take those costs, I can take those inputs, I could spread them down to my 3 marketing departments, and I could spread them across to my month. So for example, if I go to lodging here and I plan out $215,000, in this case, because I'm planning it at the total marketing level, it first asks me, and I'm also planning at the annual level, it first asks me, how do you want to allocate that information across the month? This is a pre-built function in Prophix. There's no setup required. And I could choose spread evenly. I could spread based on the existing information, our baseline, so it'll calculate your weighted averages by month for you. You could predetermine your weighting. So if you want to set up a weighting by month for seasonality, you could do that too. And then finally, I could choose another piece of data in the system, like a head count or like a revenue, and allocate costs based on that as well. So in this case, I'm just going to choose spread evenly. So we'll choose that. But then the second dimension spread, or the second spread that we're going to do now, is to spread down to our 3 departments. So we're going to spread down to content, field, and product marketing. When we do this, I could then go in, if I wanted to, I could then go into the model and actually pull data out to use as my allocation or my spread. So in this case, I could go to accounts. I have the full general ledger at my disposal, as well as statistical non-financial information as well. So I could choose FTEs as my spread. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go into the system. This data does not have to be in the template, first of all, but it can go into the system, find those FTEs for those 3 departments, and then spread it accordingly. So if I hit spread, it's now going to take that 215,000, put it evenly across to the month, and then spread it down to our individual departments. So if I go, as you can see, it's even across to the month, but if I go to product marketing, we have 9 heads there, so 6,096. If I go to content marketing, 8.45 heads, a little bit less. So it's done all that calculation for you. And then what we could do is we could have a comment be required and have the user then fill in what they did. So why did they do it, that type of thing. So I could say spread based on FTE by department. You could also add in attachments to your commentary as well. These things are that's pretty handy, especially when you're doing variances and things like that, variance commentary, to be able to put an attachment in there. But the difference between commentary in Prophix and commentary in Excel is quite simply just because with the commentary in Prophix, that piece of commentary will flow through the entire system. You do not have to copy the commentary over to a variance report when it comes time to doing variance reporting. That's a common thing I used to have to do in Excel, but rather that piece of commentary sticks. It's actually loaded into the system, and then the next time you look at $215,000 for lodging, for marketing, for 2017, that commentary will be there for you. So that's one example. The other example I'm going to kind of walk you through here as well is, let's say you kind of do driver-based planning. So in this case, this is a simple driver example, but of course you could do driver-based planning by product, by customers, like price times quantity. You could do it, you know, by hours times billable rate, all those types of things you can do. This is a simple example where the general ledger account 6760 is a calculated account for the purpose of planning, but for actuals, it's just a straight input from GP. So in this case, if I start filling in some of my dues and subscriptions rates, and I refresh, and you can make the refresh automatic every time you fill in a number, the calculation will go. I just set it to do an annual refresh, but in this case now, all those accounts, this times this equals this, we can set it up that way. So driver-based planning is a very rudimentary thing for Prophix. The final thing that we're going to kind of go through today is, let's say your organization plans only a small component of the plan at the ledger level, so by account, by cost center, those types of things. Let's say they don't do it that way for payroll, or let's say they don't do it that way for sales. You do it, for sales, you do it by product, by customer. For payroll, you do it at the employee level. For CapEx, you do it at the asset level. No one's keying in information at the ledger level. Perfect. If you're doing that already, that's good, because you're getting out it. You're really kind of using the data you should be using to do your plan. And so in this case, if I try to put in some information here at the ledger level for payroll, it immediately tells me I can't edit it. That's because in the workflow, there's a task here to fill out my personnel plan. And this is using a module in Prophix called Detailed Planning Manager. And Detailed Planning Manager allows you to set up models like a personnel plan, like a sales plan, at a detailed granular level using different elements than your ledger, so by product and customer, which oftentimes aren't a part of your ledger. But you can then link that back to your ledger plan. It's not like linking in Excel where you're typing equals this, nothing like that. It's a very simple, easy click and drag screen where you'll have your earnings calculations, your benefits calculations in this case, and you're simply just setting up that calculation and then clicking and dragging and linking it that way. So it's not formula links, it's really quite simple, and if you want to see it, we can show it to you later. But the beauty of this is that this plan, while it's in a different model, while it's in a different place in the system, is actively linked back to the financial ledger. So imagine being able to do your whole budgeting process, allow salespeople to plan that they're using the data they need to use to plan, having HR plan for headcount, all the different areas of your business effectively planning using the metrics that they're accountable for, and having that information flow back to your financial ledger. So all I simply have to do, if I'm done planning this, let's say for all intents and purposes I am, and I'm done planning, all I simply have to do then is just hit update. Update then takes this information from the personnel model, or the detailed planning model, and it updates the financial model. So I click close, I go back to my OPEX plan at the ledger, I hit refresh, and then all of my information is now posted up to my financial ledger. This is oftentimes, in most clients that I used to work with when I was in consulting, this is oftentimes where there's a huge disconnect and this huge inability to take information from other departments and their data sets and make sense of it at the ledger level. So now I've instantly done that, I've pushed the data over, and the whole plan is coming together cohesively. So at the end of the day, you can have your plans be non-ledger based and have other data being used for your plan, but rest assured, you'll always receive the information back on your ledger because those models are linked very seamlessly. So once I've done this, If I'm completed my plan, additionally, there's some other levels of detail. If you wanted to force users to have to do line item or transactional level plans, then of course, they can do that as well. As you can see, this is all written justification. So we'll say maybe turnkey event Chicago, something like that. So we can fill out the plan this way, hit save, and then it'll go back to the ledger. So again, there's a lot of flexibility that you can provide the users or force the users, in this case, to have to fill out their budget that way. But let's just say I'm done my budget. I'm done it. I can go to workflow here at the top, hit submit, hit yes, and then now it's going to be sent over to the next user to be completed. If I go back to the workflow, it's now been submitted. The next user in line who has to approve it will get an email saying you need to approve this, get a link to log into Prophix, and go and review it, make changes if necessary, reject it, send it back, or just simply approve it and send it on to the CFO. So that's kind of workflow in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions about either workflow or budgeting or planning or anything like that? Perfect. Okay. So we got about 10 minutes, 9 minutes. Perfect. So the last thing I kind of want to talk about, and this kind of wraps everything together, is report distribution. Now, of course, people can kind of come into Prophix. They can open up reports as individual reports, but many organizations today provide report packages to their end users. And so in the report packages world, you can put together a document. If we just open it up here, you can put together a package of documents that contain multiple reports. So I have a Word document that's a cover page, a Word document that's a narrative, and then I have 4 reports that I've created in Prophix, and then I put into this package. This package is then going to go to a distribution list of Prophix users, and of course, like we talked about earlier, each user will receive a different version of the package based on their user security profile. But I didn't have to spend time creating individual reports to do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this package. Just close it here. If I run the package here, it will ask me first, what do you want to generate it in? So if I right-click, hit send, I have all of these different format options at my disposal. I'm just going to email it as an attachment to the different users. When doing so, I will then receive an email, and that email will automatically put together all of the different reports. It will truncate any pages that are blank. It will show only the information that I, as an end user, have to see, and it'll deliver it right to my inbox. You can also send it to the user as a hyperlink, and that hyperlink will then boot them into Prophix to review the report. Oftentimes, that's a good way to do it, because when they go into Prophix, they can interact with the data like we just saw. They can get things answered. In this case, it's just a PDF. So it gives me the table of contents down at the bottom. And here's our report package. So we have our title page. We have some narrative. And then we get right into the reports. So a cash flow statement kicks us off, followed by a monthly balance sheet with some statistics on inventory and payables. And then we start to get into the different other reports. These are all ledger-based, but if you go down to the very, very bottom, now we get into some product-based and some sales-based information as well, followed by some dashboard components, all in one cohesive document. You'll never have to spend time sitting there formatting the document, making sure things are fitting. It really does a really great job of this, and so this is something that, once again, will only expedite your monthly reporting processes. It will only give you more time for other things to do. We really try to think about these things. Then we solicit feedback from our customers as well. You go to feedback.prophix.com. It's administered by our CTO and our product management team. That's something that we really take to heart, and we want to hear your feedback. This is something that was a customer-driven feedback item many, many, many years ago, and we built it into our product to help customers automate their monthly reporting processes. So again, we're all about giving you guys a voice in the product development. We can do that as a privately held company because we can really have our own destiny. We can do what we want to do, and we look at this as you investing in not just a piece of software to solve your business needs, but investing in a way that a company develops their application, a way that they develop their software. And so that's something that we're really kind of proud about, that we can do that. We can develop our application with our customer base, and we can do it the way we want.